Fans of the MCU rejoice! The news that Marvel Studios will be overseeing the upcoming X-Men properties is something that many a fan has been dying to see happen. What does this mean for the Fox X-Men franchise though? How will all of these characters be brought into the fray into the MCU? Well, there's a lot of possibilities, but not much in terms of answers yet. But today we're taking a look at what Marvel Studios and Disney can do to do these mutant characters and their stories justice, with our list of the top 10 ways the MCU can improve the X-Men films. Or rather, just the X-Men in general, and their cinematic portrayal. Let's jump in! And at number 10, a slower introduction. Watching a Fox X-Men film always feels like, BAM! Here's a billion trillion characters, enjoy! Aside from a few of the titles, it often feels like for about half of the mutant characters that we see on the big screen, we don't really get a whole lot in terms of character development. For example, Cyclops has always been a character who felt like he was off to the side in the movies. While Jean Grey and Wolverine got a whole lot of backstory and development, he was always a dude, standing by the side, wanting Jean Grey to love him. And even his younger version kind of feels like that too, except he's like not a total dick yet. When are we going to get the weird dickish Cyclops? The one comic fans love to hate. The one who lost sense of his morality and it was a really interesting arc. The one who's a boyfriend and gets depressed a lot. I feel like you could say the same with a lot of X-Men characters. Storm. Can we please get a good Storm storyline? Anywho, by introducing characters more slowly into the MCU, it would give the studio time to really develop each of these mutant characters that we adore, and do a lot of them justice. And at number 9, the integration of storylines. The X-Men, much like the Fantastic Four, have played many a crucial role in the grander scheme of Marvel Comics and story events. Charles Xavier is a really important dude, you guys! The MCU could easily improve upon the X-Men films by having that integration with other groups of heroes. That's sort of a given. Imagine the way that the MCU weaved the Infinity War narrative together, but for something like Secret Wars, or Secret Invasion, or any other major Marvel events. Plus on top of that, seeing the mutant characters mingle with already established ones would be oh so satisfying. I don't know about you guys, but wouldn't you want to see a Rono swing by and woo T'Challa? Or Peter Quill awkwardly hit on Kitty Pryde and totally fall in love? Sure, Star-Lord and Gamora may be endgame, but seeing a mutant fight side by side him in space would also be dope. And at number 8, not just films. With the recent rumors that Disney's new subscription-based streaming service will include limited series on MCU characters, there's been a lot of talk concerning Scarlet Witch getting her own show. If that's the case, it wouldn't be a surprise to see members of the X-Men mythos entering the MCU through her narrative, since Wanda is very prominent in the X-Men stories in the comics. Riffing off of our first point, having the X-Men enter the MCU staggered as opposed to all at once like the original Fox franchise is a way to ensure that the characters are spread out and have the proper time to develop. Also, a mutant show that has like Scarlet Witch in it or other already established MCU characters, really cool. And at 7, it's not just the Charles and Eric show. It's not always all about Magneto and Professor X. The emphasis on Magneto and Professor X could be diminished in the MCU, or at least in terms of introducing mutants. Long has the Fox franchise focused on their conflict as the core of the X-Men's narratives. And while there's nothing wrong with that choice, it is a lifelong conflict that deserves that special treatment, the MCU's approach to exploring their dynamic may be better played out if they veered away from the Charles and Eric drama that the current Fox franchise has been beating to a pulp the past several years. How will they manage that? Well, one thing that fans of the MCU have pointed out in a theory is that the MCU and Fox universes split in terms of World War II. Hydra rose to power in the MCU, which is why Magneto theoretically was never in the Holocaust, hence why the mutant uprising didn't occur in the MCU. So mutants, according to this theory, could still be in hiding. While Magneto's origin story has forever been closely tied to the tragedies of World War II, it would be curious to see how the MCU would reappropriate him. But look at Tony Stark for example. He's a character whose origins were firmly planted in the Vietnam War. But in the MCU, he's over in the Middle East when his origin story plays out. Similar but slightly different to better fit the times. So Eric's integration will likely have some creative liberties, and it's very possible that the MCU would still want to explore his relationship with Charles, meaning Professor X's origin might be altered as well. Either way, maybe save those cards for a little bit of a later date and open with like, I don't know, Cyclops. And at number 6, Wolverine. Speaking of characters who have been beaten to a pulp, this past year marked the end of Hugh Jackman's take on Wolverine with the Logan film. A critical success, the movie ended off Logan's story in the best way imaginable. And based on the finality of that film, there's a theory that suggests that Fox will be wrapping up its entire X-Men universe with the upcoming Dark Phoenix movie. Here's hoping. That being said, you bet your bottom dollar that Wolverine will be getting an MCU revival. How could he not? If Marvel Studios was smart, they'd leave Logan in the works for a while, not playing all of their cards right from the get-go when the X-Men first debut in the MCU, as previously mentioned. Maybe they'll give him his original threads too. And here's hoping that his introduction will match his first appearance in the comics, by rubbing shoulders, or rather claws, with Bruce Banner's Hulk. Up next at 5, the Quicksilver situation. If I have to explain to one more family member one more time why there's 2 different Quicksilvers up on the big screen in different movies, I swear I'll just Sorry guys, this one specifically really bothers me, as you can tell. In Fox's X-Men movies, there's a Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters. In the MCU, there was a Quicksilver, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. This is because both Fox and Disney shared the rights to the siblings, both Pietro and Wanda. Although there was some restrictions for Disney. Having the Fox X-Men franchise erased allows for the MCU to clear all of that up. And as some theories suspect, they may even bring Quicksilver back and allow his villain to show. Sorry Evan Peters, probably not gonna be you. The merger also means that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver can be referred to as mutants, which is a thing that was a major restriction. And perhaps we might even get to see the Daddy Magneto storyline if the MCU choose to incorporate that when introducing Eric. Daddy Magneto. It sounds really sleazy, doesn't it? And at number 4, quality films and quality direction. You guys see Wolverine Origins? How about X-Men Age of Apocalypse? Yeah. We know Marvel Studios has a certain caliber of quality it operates by. To date, the only really bad film to come out of the MCU was Thor: The Dark World, and even then, some of you in the comments will surely contest to that. The kinds of patience and understanding that goes into creating the MCU movies is something that the X-Men really deserve.
And 3, 2, 1.
It's not just about making money with them, although they've made a ton of money and have a well-oiled profit machine running right now, to be honest. The directors and writers and producers assigned to the MCU projects are always putting in their best, and each of the films are unique and fitting of their title characters. And at number 3, Deadpool's mutants. Only keep the X-Men who have been in Deadpool movies. I'm not talking about Charles Xavier, Beast, and Quicksilver's cameo, I'm talking Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Just them. And Cable. Josh Brolin can definitely do both, especially if Thanos is going to be KO and take a long-term sabbatical after the Avengers 4 film. If you know what I mean. Anyway, whole point is, keep the characters that are actually good, and you know Deadpool's a franchise that's making lots of money. Not to say that the Fox X-Men characters aren't good, it's just different caliber of work. And at number 2, the mutant metaphor. Back in the 60s when the X-Men first came to be in the comics, their narrative stood for something. It was a time when America was engrossed in the civil rights movement, and demand for change was heavy in the air. Enter September of 1963, the X-Men issue 1 was released. The X-Men were metaphors for racism, for xenophobia, and for prejudice. Stories like these resonated with readers. Between the X-Men and the super relatable Peter Parker's Spider-Man, Marvel had its finger on the pulse of what readers all over North America, of all different shapes and colors and sizes, wanted to be reading. They did it in a way that wasn't overly controversial, but had enough of a spark that it really resonated with a lot of people. This metaphor is something that the Fox universe has chosen to explore on several occasions, but it's also a metaphor that they play loose and quick with. It never really sticks, and if it does, it's for the duration of a film or two, but never really has the thematic impact that it should, considering deep down it's at the heart of the biggest conflict in the franchise. The conflict between Charles and Eric. Eric is pushing for mutant supremacy, having seen what kind of monster prejudice can turn into. It's at the heart of the conflict between mutants and their goal to be accepted by a grander society, something that was prominent in the early Fox X-Men films and a few of the recent ones. There's a lot of politics that were in their stories, and that's something that the MCU could really emphasize again, and make impactful. And finally, in at number 1, a cleaner timeline. If our last number wasn't the most important topic to fans when it comes to the way that the X-Men characters have been portrayed cinematically over the years, this number is. A clean timeline. Oh, dear God. It feels as if the X-Men films after the first trilogy got really messy for a while. Wolverine Origins? What the f was going on there? Then we get the new X-Men movies with a younger, hotter Charles Xavier. Well, strike hotter. Patrick Stewart is forever a 10 out of 10 babe, let's be honest. These films got a bit complicated thanks to Days of Future Past. And then the last movie, X-Men Age of Apocalypse, brought in a new order of Jean Grey, Cyclops, Storm, Jubilee for a hot second. Just a different version of a mix of characters that had previously been established. And yes, there's a whole logic behind this, but on a surface level to those coming into the franchise, it felt like it was going all over the place. The MCU's integration of the X-Men characters will likely provide a whole lot more clarity in terms of what events are happening. We're likely not going to get some weird merging of timelines bringing in all of the characters who are in the Fox movies, with the exception of Deadpool and his rowdy lot if we're being optimistic. So this could really tidy things up. For the better. Alright, there we have it, friends. What else do you think Marvel Studios could improve upon in terms of the X-Men? Do you think we'll get a slew of X-Men movies announced for the next 2 MCU phases? Or do you think they'll be integrated much slower? Give us a shout in those comments below and tell us your thoughts. If you dug this video, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd and hang out with us some more. In the meantime, thanks for watching, friends. I'll catch you all in the next video.